I need to stop looking at Instagram and start doing the commentary for this video. Gosh darn it, getting Instagram was a bad idea because I'm procrastinating. So much procrastinating, even though, I don't know, recording Helium Lemon is probably procrastinating too. Did we look at this already? What is this? Oh, this is Blind Man's Buff. I think we... Bluff. God, calling it Blind Man's Buff is really stupid. Anyway, I have new headphones. These are Superlux brand, I think. They sound really nice and they were pretty affordable. They were like 60 or 70, which was right on budget for me. And great quality. The only thing is that I'm still kind of getting used to them. Like my ears kind of hurt after like wearing them for like 30, 40 minutes, but or even less. But like I think I just have to get used to them, and eventually I'll stop noticing that because I do, you know, do a lot of this and use headphones a lot and listen to music a lot. So here we are getting introduced to the new area of the game. The architecture style is changing, kinda, in aesthetic terms, aesthetic choices. I like this golden tree in the middle of the room. It's kind of like a library sort of type room. Yeah, we got this kind of like sort of classic, I don't know, I guess you'd call it sort of classical architecture, although that doesn't kind of describe it. But it's like a far cry from the kind of like ramshackle wooden apartments that we kind of saw for the first couple of videos. And now the architecture it's starting to look a lot more pristine. And the game kind of goes through like a couple of different, you know, like changes in scenery and architecture styles. And it's kind of how it marks the different areas of the game. And the music style changes with that, so we get kind of like a lot more ambient sort of sounds with a lot more organ and bells. And I'm gonna start calling these the "You're Correct" drums. I know that, you remember the Important Videos playlist? I had a friend in high school who one time in the middle of senior year, she was like, I'm gonna go through the entire Important Videos playlist. And she sent me she kept sending a bunch of them to me, but one of them was the "You're Correct" horse, which must have come from some old computer program where you got a question right and like this weird like 3D animated horse would dance around and say "You're correct," not speak it, but like there would be text on the screen. Here's this old sort of, I don't even know what to call him, sort of scientist, philosopher type dude. He always has the weirdest music start playing when he appears on screen. The guy who did the soundtrack for this, he actually used an egg slicer as an instrument. And I've never used an egg slicer before, but it's got like sort of little nylon strings that are, you know, just hard enough to slice through like a soft-boiled egg. Or hard-boiled egg, whatever. I love these deep organ notes that play when you move forward. This is a really beautiful sort of ambient track, so I don't really want to talk too much over it unless I've got something important to say, which now I'm just saying filler. So asking myself whether or not I'm going to say something important itself is filler. And itself is unimportant because the debate of important versus unimportant could take us all day in just describing the terms that we set out for ourselves. Like Soren Kierkegaard. I don't know. I haven't read much philosophy. I feel like I need to read philosophy to be smarter, but like so much of it is the language. You know, you have to get around to the language that they use, like, you know, they use a lot of words to try and say like one thing, in my opinion. I don't know. Anyway, this puzzle took me forever. I don't know why. So beautiful. Such beautiful music. kind of like a dulcimer style instrument. So this puzzle is not that hard, but I just really overthought it, and I was like, how do I get him here? How do I get on the other side? The answer is really easy. It's like the easiest thing, but I was like, oh, I can't get down from there, and I have to figure out what happens when I trap him in that one little corner. And did I delete? No, I'm fine. I tend to overthink puzzle games because I've been playing Evan's Remains, and I really overthink puzzles in that game, so it takes me like 20 freaking minutes in one goddamn puzzle when the answer is really easy. I'm like, oh man, I really overthought that because I was like, huh? What is this? Yeah. I like those bells. And the You're Correct drums, except those are more subtle. Hey, a book just fell on my head. That wasn't very nice. So we go down here. Speaking of weird 3D animation, I've been really wanting to watch Xavier Renegade Angel. It just looks so random and weird. It's kind of unfortunate that like a lot of adult animation today is kind of like Family Guy and South Park and just like immature for the sake of being immature. And like, I know there are a lot of people who like South Park and appreciate it for like, you know, the deeper things that it's trying to do, like make political commentary and all that. I'm gonna shut up for this. It's so good. Fun fact, the contrabassoon is actually one of my favorite musical instruments of all time, so the fact that they include it in this game is a real treat for me. And also just the idea of a bird playing a bassoon carved into a giant tree. A lot of people can't tell the difference between bassoon and oboe, but you know, I've just kind of learned to live with that and correct them when necessary. Same thing for marimba versus xylophone. It's not the greatest mishap in the history of the universe. Speaking of the history of the universe, I just watched The Theory of Everything. Eddie Redmayne is such a freaking fantastic actor. And they made such a... I didn't know what to expect Stephen Hawking to be like, and they made him so like funny and witty and charming and talked about sex a lot in the movie. I was surprised for a movie about Stephen Hawking to talk about sex so much. Anyway, this guy's just chilling and he's listening to his painting of like the guy practicing bass. And it's funny, I didn't actually hear it that time. And he's just calmly reading his book. He's very much the archetype of the absent-minded professor. Just calmly reading his book while the monster guy just freaking destroyed his thing. I don't even know if you'd call it his house, but like his little nook in the library where he sits and reads. Maybe this is his house. I don't know. A crazy old coot like him probably lives in a house full of books. Crazy old coot. Coot. I love characters in video games that are like crazy old coots. Like Ford Cruller in Psychonauts, for example. I love how this puzzle, you just have to just get up and go right from the get-go. This puzzle actually didn't take me too long to figure out. I like the planets at the very top. The planets are cool, although planets kind of make me sad because I just finished watching BoJack Horseman, and if you know what happens with Sarah Lynn, you know that a planetarium is involved, and that's all I will say without spoiling the show for those who have not watched the show. But it is a good show, and you should watch the show that is BoJack Horseman, and you should partake in the watching. If you have the Netflix, The Netflix? That's not the worst thing I've called it, although it does sound kind of bad. Get your tit flicks on Netflix. No, I didn't just say that. I call it Neatflax or Ned's Flakes or Netscape. No, I don't know. Isn't Netscape one of those old websites like MySpace or something? Yeah, MySpace. We're one of the top 8. I don't know. I don't actually know anything about MySpace. It just make fun of it because it's like supposedly like everybody was using it like 10 years ago. I love the bells and the deep organ note again. I know I've said it already, but... And the You're Correct drums. What is this weird bird statue over here on the left? Looks like it's wearing like a party hat. Or like those things that like princesses in the old days used to wear. I don't know. Now speaking of planetariums, we got a whole like observatory. This is probably the prettiest level in the game. I really like observatories in games because I really like the observatory in Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask. Ooh, speaking of Zelda games, I've been doing a replay of Skyward Sword. At first, I was kind of constantly getting frustrated because my motion sensor wasn't working great, and neither was my nunchuck. But like, things have basically started working. My nunchuck, at least, isn't having any more problems, and I finally got my batteries changed. Which, like, every dang time you boot up that game and you have low batteries, it's like it does like the little beep, beep, beep. Master, the batteries in your Wiimote are running low. And it's like, I know, okay? But it's, I know Skyward Sword was, like, designed for a much younger demographic than most Zelda games, at least maybe not necessarily, but like the way that games are designed for younger demographics is much different now. Because in the old days, Nintendo just kind of dropped these really hard games on young kids and just kind of was like, "We'll figure it out." I don't know. It's kind of changed, and I'm fine with the way that that's changed, but like I was also like just like this first dungeon of Skyward Sword is really bland. I like it's not all bad because I like the initial room where like you step out and you're finally in this big room with a high ceiling and you get to test out the beetle for the first time, and that's a great feeling just because it's like, oh, this is a cool new item. It's one of the coolest items in a Zelda, really. It's like a little drone that you fly around. And it's like, oh gee, what do I do with this? So speaking of what do I do with this, is this just about the end of the puzzle? I think we have to get the jellyfish dude to go down. But he can't... so he goes up like that. And then he goes up again. And then he goes down. And then he is just gonna stay there. He can't go up. The jellyfish movement pattern is basically they continue oh, I should have edited this part out, shouldn't I? They keep going until like they hit something that blocks their path, like a light or a different enemy, or a wall, of course. And then they look up, then down, and they just kind of pick whatever direction is the closest. And then I think they continue going in the direction that they started going in. if they're not blocked, which is really important because sometimes you have to be able to like predict which direction they're going to go in some of these puzzles. I don't know. God dang, I took really long figuring this one last part out. It's not even that bad. You just have to get the you have to get him to go down. Oh, no, he's going to go up. And now he's going to go back down. But now he's going to start going to the right. Because he's facing to the right. Because he checks, like, am I blocked on this side? Am I blocked on this side? Because once he sees that he's blocked... And yes, the jellyfishes are he. I don't know. I don't know why. Oh, and if you watch the constellations in the background, like, they kind of, like, shift every few seconds. Yeah, it's a really cool room. So here's the old coot again. The absent-minded professor, the nutty professor. It's like, where's that darn book? I know it's here somewhere. I love the way he walks with his cane. Just such a nutty old man. Alright, the video is almost done, so I will see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.